What's up? What's up? Haha. Emergency live stream. Only my second one ever. um, kind of a dramatic title. I'm not a dramatic guy, usually. But this is a crazy notice we just got today. If you are a landlord in Fall River who transacts with the Fall River Housing Authority, you just received this notice in your email. If you have not received it, check your spam folder. All right. So before we get into this, I want to just make something very clear. All right. In our property management company, we deal with half a dozen different housing authorities and housing programs from all over the state of Massachusetts. I really honestly can say Fall River Housing is probably one of the best ones that we deal with. They're easy to get a hold of. They're very communicative. They'll work with you. So I definitely can say that I appreciate them, and I want to make that clear. I'm all about give props where props are due. This is not their fault directly, right? But I think it's a sign of really how bad things are right now in Massachusetts. You know what I mean? Like, and we know it. And if you say it, you're like, oh, this evil person. Oh my God. How, and it just turns into a big argument and a pissing match online. So whatever it is, what it is. But we all know that we are spending way more money than we have or will ever receive. And the burden is starting to show and there's chinks in the armor. Okay. So let's get into it. And this is the first one right here. And I knew this was coming and I've been saying it for a while and I knew this was going to happen because it doesn't make sense. Like there is way too much money being spent for where the money's coming from. And here we go. So this is the start. So just today, Fall River Housing, important notice. All right. All landlords participating with the Fall River Housing Authority. All right. So effective immediately, they are requesting you to defer any rent increases you anticipate submitting to Fall River Housing until further notice. So it starts with the request of deferment. Please don't raise the rents right now. Okay. And I can say we have definitely seen it to be a little bit more difficult to get the rents that we want to get. The last few years, it was very easy. All the different housing authorities, they would, the market rents are the market rents. Like they would just give the rents. So it was very advantageous to take a Section 8 tenant because you got the rent that you wanted and, they're good programs. They pay, you just have to maintain the property. All good, but I've noticed recently the last few months, it's been a little harder to get things through. We had a tenant move into one of our units from Boston Housing Authority and they forced us to rent it for like $100 less. So we did it, we made some accommodations, whatever, it is what it is. I kind of felt bad for them. So we did it, but, and that didn't happen until this year. So, okay, so this is the request to defer any rent increases until further notice, okay? And why? Why is that? Okay? Fall River Housing Authority, along with many housing agencies across the fine Commonwealth of Massachusetts, have been facing a funding shortfall. This means that the cost of providing housing assistance through the program has grown faster than the funding we receive from HUD. Okay, we're spending more than we take in, guys. Where's all the money going? We know where it's going, right? Where's it all going? Okay, the rising costs specifically of rent and utilities. Now, who watching this video right now has not seen a dramatic increase in the cost of utilities in Massachusetts? Gas, electric, water, sewer, all these things, okay? Why is that? Why are these things happening? Again, we all know why. All right. And the cost of rent. So rent actually went down this year. We've seen downward pressure on rents. Like I said, HUD is not as willy-nilly with paying. And I could say generally across the board, units are a little harder to rent. All right. So the rent issue is kind of taking care of itself. Okay. So the request is rents are out of control and utilities are out of control. So please don't ask us to increase the rents. Okay. The request is not made lightly. We fully recognize the financial considerations you face as a property owner, so on and so forth. Okay. So what does this mean? Okay. We've seen this movie before, guys. And here's my thesis on this. And hopefully I'm wrong, but I don't know because I just don't think I'm wrong. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, right? The internet lives forever. It is what it is, right? But here's my thesis. We've seen this movie before about 5 years ago, right? 14 days to stop the spread. Hey guys, please just stay home, right? Don't go out, okay? This is 14 days to stop the spread. Please, we request you to please defer any rent increases. Okay, what's next? Okay, the money's not getting any better. It's not like miraculously the state is just going to manage its housing crisis that they self-inflicted on a much better process than they have thus far the last few years. So what's going to happen? I could see step two is, hey, we don't have any money, so you're getting 1,000 a month from us. We're cutting that by 10% or 20% or 5% or 25%. And that's it. That's what it is. Okay, so step two, went from 14 days to stop the spread to we're going to shut down your business. Okay, and that's what they're doing here, right? I think, again, maybe I'm wrong, but again, we've seen this movie before and it's all the same players. All right, and then step three will be an emergency order that any housing tenant that they've cut rents on cannot be evicted. So how does that solve the problem? It won't. And it's only going to get worse, guys. So I don't know. Maybe I'm mad dramatic on this. I don't know, but I've seen this movie before, and this is how it started the last time I saw this movie 5 years ago, and I'm seeing it again. And we all know that nothing is going to change in the interim. If anything, people are digging their heels in, and they're fighting this fight even harder, up to $2,000 a month, for migrants, for housing. You know what I mean? Where's that money coming from? All of this stuff, right? All these crazy things that have impacted the price of utilities for everybody across the state, same thing. So I don't think this is getting any better. This is the first, sign that there's really a problem and that money is running out, which, we all have budgets in our lives. We know how money works. Can't spend more than you make, so that's what it is. Now, I sent this out in January, and I'll share with you today. I sent this out to all our clients. So we did a little study about HUD rents, and we already saw that the rents were coming down. Like I said, it's been harder to get the rents. So there was a big jump. So this is Fall River rents, fair market rents from HUD. So this is what Section 8 and all the housing programs are based on. So 2023 rents, we'll take a 2-bedroom in Fall River, okay, was $1,409. From 23 to 24, there was a 20% jump. Okay, so it bumped 20%. And we saw that. Like Fall River got very expensive the last few years, right? So like I said, housing rents were good, and then this past year, when they came out with the new rents, it dropped 5%, right? So it went from 1693 to 1614. And we saw that consistently across the board. You can see that here. So it was 20% jump and then a 5%, reversion to, I call it reverting to the mean, right? Like when we look at stocks and stuff and, you see a big jump, it always has a little bit of a pullback, right? So it never jumped that much, was always kind of 3-4%, so they're pulling back, so I kind of thought this was coming in September when these rents came out, because the fiscal year is October to September, so we could see already they were kind of cutting back, and in some of our units, we actually get more than these rents. So like, last year, these were pretty good rents. Like these were consistent with market rate. It was fine. We're seeing this year a little bit of pressure, so we're not, some of these units, we're getting more money on the open market, so it makes it a little more difficult to fill them, because how do you tell an owner when all their expenses are going through the roof to take less rent? Because if we screen them right, we have good tenants, like there's no concerns about payment, so I don't know. But all that, there's just a quick little emergency broadcast. This is it, guys. This is the beginning of reality, I think. The state is running out of money. A lot of different things. We all know what they are. It is what it is. And this is what happens. So who gets left holding the bag? The property owners, the business owners, the people that contribute, and who else gets left holding the bag? Unfortunately, the people that are on these programs that really need it. These programs are designed to help people be able to afford housing, and when this stuff starts happening and it runs out of money, I don't know. What do you do? So, all right, well, that's my emergency broadcast. It is what it is. Share your thoughts below. I'm curious to hear if I'm totally off base here. That's fine. It is what it is. It's just numbers on a paper. All right, guys, take it easy. Have a great day. It's beautiful out, and let's just see where this goes. Hopefully I'm being mad dramatic and I'm wrong, but I doubt it. I really doubt it. Seen this movie before. All right, guys, take care.